In this lesson, we're going to learn about speed and motion in After Effects and how we can work with the natural speed of the videos and also like slow it down, speed it up, anything else. And we're also going to look at a cool motion effect that is available in this program to kind of intensify the activity that the subject is doing in the video. So let's go ahead and import our footage. We have 4 videos, and also notice that all of them, there's a lot of motion. We have someone doing yoga, we have a boxer, we have someone playing soccer, and someone who's stomping their feet on the floor. So it's a lot cooler if there's like some sort of movement, then we'll see that slowed down. And I did want to mention something. If you see right here, all of the frame rates are at a maximum of 25. We have one that is almost 24. And the thing about footage, when you want to slow it down especially, is that you want to make sure you have a really high frame rate. The reason for that is that when we slow down the clips, we are kind of expanding those frames. And when we have a low frame rate like this, it's going to be glitchy. And I'll show you what that looks like soon. But a low frame rate can work when you're speeding up the clip, but not so much when you're slowing it down. So if you've seen, if you go to like an electronics store where there's TVs and they're always showing this really high quality footage in slow motion, like a bird flying, those footage are usually shot at around 120 frames per second, which makes them a really high quality footage. So when you slow it down, it's that perfectly smooth footage, and you can see every single motion that that bird is doing. But if that footage was 25 frames or 24, then it's going to be glitchy. And you can see that at some point the wing is down, then next frame just goes up, and it's going to be glitchy. So if you're going to shoot your own footage to slow it down, not to make it faster, just slow it down, make sure that 1, it's shot on a tripod. You do not want any sort of shake and unnecessary motion in these videos. And 2, make sure that your camera or your phone's frame rate is at least 30. 30 is still not that desirable for high quality slow motion, but try to keep it at least 30. And an ideal number would be 60. And if you had a camera or a high quality video recorder, which is a camera again, try to go for 120 frames per second to get that extra crisp clip to slow it down. And you will not be disappointed with the results that you get. So let's have a look at what a 25 frame per second video will look like if we slow it down. I'm going to drag this in here to make its own composition. Let's rename this to Boots. So I'm going to duplicate Boots, Control D or Command D. Let's grab both of them, and I'm going to cut them short for around 5 seconds. Control Shift D, Command Shift D if you're on Mac, backspace to delete the extra bits. Now I'm going to make Boots 2 the video that we're going to speed up and kind of turn slow. So right click on that, time stretch, and the original factor is always 100. So when you're stretching, you want to add to that. So instead of 100, I'm going to add a high number like 500. You can see we added 20 seconds to the original duration. Hit OK. We can see that this is a lot longer than it was. I'm going to cut this till here so it can load, and I'm going to let this render so we can see exactly what a 25 FPS video will look like once we slow it down. And as you can see, it's kind of glitching. It's not exactly that smooth. You can see that the drops are like appearing with a lot of delays, and that is because of our frame rate. So this is an example of slow motion with a video that has a low FPS. So try to avoid this by changing your frame rate on your device, be it a phone or a camera, to again, at least 30 frames, or if you can, 60 to 120 frames. So usually on iPhones, not so sure about Android, but I'm pretty sure they do have the frame rate option. There is an option for 4K footage. All you have to do is just go in your camera settings in your phone and just change it from the regular frame rate into 4K, and you will get a high quality footage every time you take a video with your phone. But if you are not planning to use your own footage for slow motion, then you don't really need to. Alright, so we slowed it down and we saw that it didn't work so well. It's glitchy, but what if we make it faster? So I'm going to delete that, make another duplicate, Control D. Let's do the same thing, but this time, instead of 100, I'm going to go for 10. So you can see the duration, the original duration changed a lot compared to the one we have now. And now we can also see it on the timeline. And let's see how this would work on a low frame rate footage. I'm going to let it load first. It needs to render. I'm going to cut this here so we don't have to wait that long for it to render. Alright, so this is the fast speed. You can see that it looks a lot better than the slow-mo. We're at least seeing some motion. Let me choose a like 40 so we can at least see what we did. Let's bring this here. So when you speed these clips up, even though they have a low FPS, it's a lot better than when you slow it down. So if you're planning to speed things up, just make sure that it's shot on a tripod and the FPS won't be as important as it is for slow motion clips. So let's see what happened once we sped up the thing. So you can see everything is clear. This is the original speed of the video. This is the fast, slow. So you saw that once we speed it up, nothing is glitching and everything is looking good compared to the original speed. So that's just a regular way of speeding things up. We can also, let me delete these, make a new composition for, let's try another video. Let me see what this is. Okay, I'm going to bring this, right click, new comp from selection. So in this footage, we have someone about to shoot. Let me turn off the audio. Someone about to shoot this ball. There we are. This is also shot in 25 frames per second. Now we can see it in real time. The person goes up and shoots the ball. Now what if we slow down, we turn this into a reverse clip. So again, right click, let me duplicate this. First call it soccer. Duplicate, Control D, and just go here, time. And instead of time stretch, go to time reverse layer. So now the clip is in reverse. I'm gonna let it load. Basically, the whole clip is going to do its thing, but in reverse with the original speed. So you still have the chance to make it reverse and maybe speed it up, make it reverse, slow it down. There's no limitation on that. I'm just gonna let it load. So with just a few clicks, we can do some changes to the speed of our footage. We can also kind of customize this speed ourselves. And I'll show you how in a second. And in another, we have a lot of footage, and I'm going to show you some other things as well. But you can see we do have a sharp footage, so sharp that we can even see the dirt particles coming and going in the air. So that's why it's important to shoot it on a tripod, so your camera can capture all of those tiny details that will look really cool once you slow it down. Alright, Gonna stick around 5 seconds. So this is the clip in reverse. You can see that it's still glitching because of our low frame rate. And if you saw that the quality is low, again, it's because it's set to third. The quality of your video has not changed. We're just changing the display. So you saw we reversed our clip. It's looking good. And we've reversed it. We can also slow down this clip using the time stretch like we did. Right now it's negative 100. Let's go to like negative 130. So it's gonna go in this way. Just drag it here. And you can see it slows down perfectly. But because we made a composition out of the video, it's going to be as long as the video itself. So that's around 7 seconds. Let's have a look at it slowed down and in reverse. Again, we're seeing the glitching that we talked about. It's pretty normal. Let's try speeding up our clip. Time stretch. And again, make sure the negative is there if you're choosing to reverse it. If you remove the negative, you're just going to turn it to the regular speed. So let's go for like negative 20. Again, it goes there, but I don't know how I can access that. Let me undo it and bring this guy here and then do that. Bring the time indicator here as well. Time stretch, negative 40. Okay. It does go away like that. So just slow it down first and then do it in reverse. Let me do this for 40. De-stretch it. Let's do that again. Control D. First, let's turn this to 40. There's a clip. Now we get to, let's go to time reverse layer. And now it's in reverse. Should be faster now. Let's cut this here. We've sped up the clip, but now it's also in reverse. There it is. Looks a bit odd, but this is basically what we did. It's coming back and then the ball suddenly appears. Just like that, we have reversed our clip and also sped it up. So once we right click, we have some other options too. We have something called freeze frame. Let me delete this. So a freeze frame basically means that at some point, this video is going to turn into an image. You determine that point. So let's say at around the part where he's about to kick the ball, use your left and right arrow keys while holding down Control to move in frame by frame. So let's say I want it to stop here. I'm going to go on this, Control-Shift-D, and here on the second clip where I want it to stay still, right click, time, freeze frame. So you can see we have this box right now. So here it stops for as long as the video continues. Again, it's running smoothly, stops here. That's how you freeze the frame. There is also stopwatches, so it means that I can maybe freeze the frame until here, turn this diamond thing, and then over here I'm just going to just cut the thing, Control-Shift-D, time, and just turn this off. So we have the regular video. Play this back. He's about to kick, freezes, continues. So that's how freeze frame works. Could be handy for some scenarios where, like, for example, the ball is in the air, anything that you want. I'm gonna delete these guys for a second. You can also delete each of these boxes if you wanted to redo them. And delete these. Can Control D to copy, duplicate. And in time, we have something freeze on last frame. On the last frame of the video, which would be around here, it will freeze. So freeze on last frame. Let's play this back. So this was the last frame, it stops. And then once it reaches the end, it will start again. So you can use this too. Maybe you want to put the credits here, or you want to add some cool animations. You would use this option to make the video freeze in the final frame. Control Z. And finally, we have the enable time remapping, and I'm going to explain how that works. So for the remapping, I'm going to bring in another clip because we already used this. Just delete these, delete the compositions as well. And let's get the boxing video, right click, new comp from selection. So in this footage, we have this person boxing, and this is a cool clip to kind of remap the speed of. So basically what remapping means is that you're kind of manipulating the speed at certain times. For example, in the beginning, once she's about to throw the punch, the footage is fast, and then when she's like about to throw the punch, it's slow, and then that's basically what remapping means. And it's really easy. It may sound a bit confusing once I'm trying to explain it, but I'm gonna let this go for like maybe 6 seconds. There we are. Just cut this short, or you can press N on your keyboard if you don't want to drag it. Let's look at what we have. So even though my footage is moving, I can still use this remapping effect. You can see it's not shaky, it's just moving with the hand. And we're just going to, first I'm going to cut the clip till the end too. Right click like we did, let me make a duplicate. Right click on the second one, time, enable time remapping. So what we want to do is first determine the times where it's going to like slow down or speed up or whatever. The clip on its own is a bit slow. You can see it's not exactly in full, in real time. It is a bit slowed down, but we get to manipulate these times anyway. So we're going to start from the beginning of the clip. We need one of these diamond linear keyframes. You can see it's on. Come to the end of your clip and click this diamond thing again. So we have determined the beginning and the end of our clip. Now let's go back and see at what point I want the clip to stop being fast. So I'm going to go for where she's about to throw the punch. So here, and another clip, another keyframe. Here it's going to be slow, and then here it's going to be fast again. Actually, it's going to be slow until here. I want here to be fast. So essentially, we have determined the times ourselves, and if you remember from the previous lessons, we said that when you limit and make the space between two keyframes small, you're speeding things up. If you leave the space long, you are slowing things down. So I said I wanted the beginning until here to be fast. So all I have to do is just grab all of these guys and just bring them in closer. Give you 1 second. Let's see how that looks. Play that back to let it render first. Then we have to work with the keyframes even more to make it the perfect way. So you can see here it's slowed down. Here again it's real time. Then here it slows down. See the part where there is the least amount of space. It's pretty fast. Slows down even more. So I'm going to maybe increase the time between this part. This is, I believe, where they start punching. Yeah, I want this part to be pretty slow because I want to see the punch and how it's being thrown. It will be cool in slow motion, so it's fast. And then we have to let it render. Then it's going to be slow and it's going to be fast again. Or in just real time. Let it render, so it's fast. It slows down here. And then it's just a real time for the rest. So that's what remapping means. It's not that complicated actually. What we can do is just maybe stretch this even more. Or better yet, we could add another thing so I can speed it up here. So it's fast, slow, fast, slow. That's what we just did. Let's have a look. Fast shadow boxing, slow shadow boxing, fast again, and then slow shadow boxing. Now, the reason why we even have time remapping, you might be wondering why we would use such a thing, is sometimes when you add music and you want to kind of pump the audience as well, you want to make them feel excited, like how movies are when they show like a training montage. You can use this time remapping to match the music. For example, if like the beat drops, you want it to be slow and you want it, the video to be the part where it's like throwing a punch because it's such an epic moment. But the areas where she's not doing much, like in the beginning, I'm gonna let it be fast. So not only does time remapping create this cool slow motion effect, it allows you to work with the times where it's fast and then the times where it's slow. It could also be a great thing to add onto your music to kind of match the beat drop, the different times of the music too. I'm just going to show you guys. You can see we even have one in the end. I want to show you guys the real-time footage. I'm going to let this play what we just created. Slows down. Then this is the original clip. You can see it's one speed, but this guy that we made has bumps in the speed line, so it's fast and it's slow, but this guy is just one continuous speed, which is the result you would get if you just easily time stretch something without adding the time remap effect. Alright, so now that we saw how to remap, how to stretch, how to speed up things, and how to reverse things, let's talk about the cool effect that we could add when there's something in motion. Let me create a composition from our last clip, which is this guy. New comp from selection. Delete this old one. So in this footage, we have someone doing yoga, and that's motion. And again, you can see the clip is not moving as much, and it's not shaky either. So for anything regarding speed, I would highly recommend that there's some sort of movement to make it look cool. Could be someone boxing, someone maybe running, someone dancing, just any sort of motion. And you can either use the time remapping that we just learned, the regular slow motion, the high speed one, or you could use this effect that I'm about to show you, whichever you want that can intensify the activity. So the video fades out in the beginning. I'm just going to crop that out. And then I'll decide a time where I want this effect to take place. So let's say around here where she starts to throw her hand up like that. And then her feet, her leg too. So we have a great deal of motion here. Let's say until this part. Crop the rest. Bring it here. Bring the time indicator here and then hit N to cut the workspace. Alright, so there are ways to do this. In the Effects and Presets window, if you're not seeing this, Window, Effects and Presets, look for Echo. There it is. In the time echo, click and drag this on top of this clip. So it's going to be brighter. We just need to go to the echo operator and instead of add, turn it to minimum. So it doesn't make things brighter. So we have number of echoes, which is the number of times the motion is going to be echoed. We definitely want something more than 1. Let's go for 4. And basically what's going to happen is that we're going to have multiple hands. And we also want some decay. So we want the decay to be 3, starting intensity. You can also add to the echo time if you want. Just play around and see what works well for you. You can see we kind of added too much to the echo time. Let's go for 0.500. It all depends on what you like. So basically, the number of echoes is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Echo time is basically at what time it starts to echo. You can manipulate this and choose whichever you want. And we have this cool effect. But there's a problem. If you zoom in on her, you can see her face is distorted. The echoes go through her. And that is not looking so good. So what we need to do is to separate the main subject and let this echo play behind her. So if you remembered from previous lessons, we can easily do that using the Roto brush. So let's go on this layer and delete echo. Control D on this first layer. Let's name this Roto so we know which layer has the brush. Name the other one echo. So on the Roto layer, I'm going to turn off the audio. Go in with this Roto brush, click it once, and what we're going to do is just double click on this person, then get the Roto brush, and what we're going to do is just select our character. Just go over the area really gently until you're seeing these purple lines. That means that the inside of these purple lines is your shadow. Sorry, it's your subject, not your shadow. And we only want this person and not the background. So make sure you select her completely. Get every bit that's there. Now for the hair, we need to do something later. And if you wanted to subtract from an area, like I need to over here, just go under Roto brush and hold down Alt or Option. You can see it turns to minus. Once you hold down Alt, click once to just remove the place. Now it's a good idea to use the Refine Edge brush. So long click on this until you get Refine Edge tool. This is used for hair, and just try to get the hair in. And remember, white means that it's going to be in that area, and black means that it's not going to be there. And this tool is just rendering. Let's go back to Roto brush. And let me close this window for a second. We have a lot here. Alright, so we chose a person. And we're gonna freeze. I believe we actually deselected that. Let me turn this off and see. Alright, so we did deselect. Let me do this again. Control D. And in this guy, double click, get the Roto brush again, but let's just focus on her because the hair is not going to be moving that much. Select. Oh, and I forgot to delete the echo from this layer. Control D. You have a look and see if there's echo. Okay, there's no echo here. Call this Roto. Double click on Roto. Get the brush from the beginning of your timeline and just select the subject roughly. Just zoom into. Want to make sure you get all of her body, or else we're going to have some glitching problems. Okay, get the hair. Switch between the hand tool by pressing H. And then the rotary brush, you would just have to click. The shortcut is Alt W. So you can just switch between H and Alt W. If you want, I mean, you have to because you have to move around your footage. Hit H, and we have some more spots down here. Do like a single click to allow After Effects to figure out the area on its own. And again, if you want to remove, hold down Alt and just let it be. So for the parts that are not going to be moving as much, which in our case, it's this part of the body and her hair, you don't need to focus too much because this echo effect is made with the movement. But the important thing is that we keep the entire body in, but not too detailed. Now we're going to hit this freeze guy. And basically what it's going to do is that it, once we gave it the selection, it's going to analyze each of the layers and separate our selection into a separate layer without the stuff we didn't select. So I'm going to let this do its thing, and then we'll be back to see how well it did. Alright, so it did its thing, and once you're done, just come to the composition, come out of the layer, and what we're going to do, just to show you what we just did, we separated this subject from the first layer. So if I turn this on, it's going to be the regular video. But now that we've separated the subject, when we do the echo effect, it's not going to pass through her. And it's just going to be underneath. Right, so we do want to do some stuff with the roto brush, the stuff we see here. Just go back in here and we want to kind of feather things out a bit. Let's go for like the 8. You can add to the contrast. Let me just go in the composition, close this off, have a look at it like this. So if you feather things out, you can see we are smoothing the edge, which we definitely need. You can shift the edge to either add or remove. I'm going to add a little bit, like so. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be placed on top of the original clip and they're going to be moving at the same time. You can see they're equal. But just make sure the shot was on a tripod, which it is in our case. You can add to the contrast if you want. Reduce chatter if you want as well. So you're kind of adding it, but we want to remove the chatter. And I'm going to add a little bit for the feather. Let's remove from the edge. Alright, so that's our subject. Once you're done with it, we're going to turn this to fit. And we're going to turn on the layer below. Now we're going to add the echo effect to the echo layer. So open up Effects and Presets, Echo, drop it onto this. Again, turn it to minimum. And we want to turn the echo time delay. Let's go for like 0.0440. Number of echoes, the number of times you want the motion to be repeated. I'll go with 4. And you can make it decay, which means that the first echo is going to be the most vibrant, and then as it goes on, it's going to fade. And we'll add a 2 for this. And the starting intensity is just the opacity of the echoes. And leave it be like that. I'm going to play. Let's see if I'm happy with it. Let me just add to this and see. I can do this if I want. If you add to the number, there's going to be space between the two. Just like that. But now we can see we're not cutting the subject. And everything that's happening is separate. So now it kind of looks mutated. I think we should lower this to like 0.200. So I don't want it to be, I don't want a lot of space next to that. And again, if you add decay, and play that, you can see that I'm going to lower it actually. I do want it to fade away. So you can see it's like faded out. And if you increase it, it's going to be more vibrant. But I think this faded look is a lot better than what we had before. It kind of intensifies and adds more elegance to the movements that she's doing. But again, you can play around and see what works well for you. Alright, I'm gonna let this render. We can also add to the echoes. Let's go for 6, so I have more repetition of the limbs. And let's also add motion blur to this layer. You can see it's like blurred out. And I'm gonna let this render and then we can see what we did. So it's just a simple effect, but when you're dealing with subjects, you want to make sure that you do this roto brush thing so that the subject is intact and we're not getting, the effect is not going through her, which will look really bad like we saw. And right now, if I do turn off this layer, I will, after it's finished rendering, you can see the big difference that the roto brush did for us. And again, make sure your footage is still, because if it's a moving subject, like someone running and the camera is moving up and down, even if you do add the roto brush, it's going to have that terrible effect. So this is what we did. We have a nice little repetition of the movements that she's doing. You can see that. And instead of a positive, I'm going to go for negative 0.200. So, it goes behind her hand. You can see now it's behind. It was 0.200. It's going to be above. I'm just going to go with negative 0.200. It's going to unrender. But I would have to wait for it to render, so let's just go for that. Because it rendered it once. Don't want to wait too long. So this is what we have, and without the roto brush, if I turn off the visibility, you can see that the effect is causing her to kind of be blurred out, and that's not what we want, because we want the focus to be on the subject and for her to be completely sharp and in focus throughout. So this is without the roto brush. This is with the roto brush. Let me zoom in to show the effect. Without the roto brush, you can see it's blur. We're seeing things like this. With the roto brush, she is a lot more in focus. And this was how we can manipulate time in After Effects using some simple options that we have. We also got to learn this cool echo effect. And we do have some slip ups here with the hand. You can always just go in your roto brush and maybe shift the edge to the negative side. Now we're not seeing those things. Just play around with this and adjust your layers to make sure that everything is in there and you're not getting like little bits of white added to your clip. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson, and I will see you guys in the next one.